Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel, guys. It's Bert and Lanny, your favorite dividend investors out here in all of social media, guys. And we teased it on the video over the weekend, guys, kind of talking about the Vanguard investing plans here in 2025. So we wanted to showcase another Vanguard ETF that is over 30 billion in assets under management for this ETF. And could it be a great ETF to invest in 2025?
Smash that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Holler at your boys. As we continue to talk about, we don't just talk about dividend stocks. We talk about dividend ETFs. We talk about other ETFs too. This one's going to be fun because it's an ETF that has a nice little dividend twist to it, but you wouldn't necessarily expect it. So this is going to be a lot of fun to cover right now.
Exactly, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe here as we rock with you and you rock with us. Dividend investing, guys. Again, if you haven't, caught the video, definitely check out, Saturday's vid about Bert's big move. He had a great splash in his portfolio, exiting one stock, entering a new stock. Really flipping the script there in his portfolio. So definitely check out Saturday's video. But it's not all about individual stocks. We also talk about exchange traded funds or ETFs. And, last week I talked about my Vanguard trifecta investing strategy that I've been employing now for a couple of years. It's where I buy Vanguard's VYM, VOO, and VIG. I buy them every single day and or every single week. And then I teased there that maybe it's time to add in a fourth musketeer to make it the four musketeers here versus just the three. Is there room for a fourth Vanguard ETF? Well, the one ETF that I was teasing that, again, history, long-term history shows usually is a good bet is the small cap value ETF. And Vanguard has one, and its ticker is VBR.
Love it. The Vanguard quadfecta, you betcha. Does it work like that? Yeah.
People are not hating it.
No, there were a lot of good comments on that video on Thursday talking about the different names for it. So again, pardon me, small cap, as you talked about it in that Thursday video. Small cap growth. You learned from your finance class back in the day, Lanny, and obviously it's something we've seen play out over the years too. Small cap can beat the market in the long run, and just invest it, get it in there. The fund is going to be helpful because it's very diversified. So let's talk about this for a second here, Lenny. Let's talk about VBR. In comparison, VYM had 400 holdings. How many holdings does VBR have? And why don't you give us some of those high-level metrics about what we see in this fund?
Yeah, of course. So VBR, guys, again, the small cap value Vanguard ETF here does have, not 300, not 400, not 500 holdings here, but they actually have 839. Again, really focused on the smaller cap stocks here. Something that your normal ETF doesn't grab if you're just invested in the S&P 500, aka the top 500, and possibly not even in your other dividend focused ETFs here. They do have a slightly higher expense ratio at 7 basis points. Again, not like that's super high by any means, because that is still extremely low from an ETF expense ratio standpoint. To kind of correlate that, it's 3 basis points on Vanguard's VOO, so 7 basis points is not a huge deal breaker there.
But think about that for a second. It's not that hard, or it doesn't take that much research to just invest in the S&P 500 like VOO does. When you're picking out 800 stocks, you're picking out ways to beat the market. You're trying to find those small caps, which are more of them that you have to do more research to. Of course, there's going to be increased costs that go along with it, or are going to have to get passed to the fund holder. So the fact that it's only 7 basis points, Lanny, is very much incredible to me, and that matches Vanguard's philosophy of keeping it cheap for the everyday investor.
Yeah, and part of that is because the turnover ratio is much higher, as Bird was kind of indicating, with a 15.6% turnover rate on the ETF. And what that means is companies exiting and entering the ETF just based on existence, based on size. Some might be, again, growing, so now they're out of the fund. Some might be entering the fund because they're new companies. So VBR, again, over the long run, extremely long run, history might show that small cap value might beat any market indices out there. And they've been tracking very well from a performance standpoint. Again, up about 50% in 5 years
Mhm.
behind the S&P 500 VOO, and up about 102%, again, which is great,
Yeah,
up 102% in the last 10 years. But
fantastic.
again, they have not been tracking better than the S&P 500, which, again, big tech has really been carrying the torch here as some of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah, that's right. From an overall size perspective, if we're going to talk about this, VOO is a very large fund. I'm pulling up their assets under management just so we can get the comparison here. VOO is hundreds of billions of dollars. I was trying to pull up the exact number, but my internet's kind of crapping out on me for lack of a better term. VBR has 31 billion dollars assets under management, net assets. So it's this pretty large fund too. This isn't some small ETF either. This has 30 billion plus, even though it's not the same size as VOO. It's still a pretty healthy size ETF.
Yeah, I mean, still a lot of good cash capital inside the fund. Again, but only performing like half of what the S&P 500 has done in the last 10 years is just wild.
Mhm.
Again, just think about what Meta,
Yeah,
Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, what all of these big tech stocks, Tesla, have done over the last decade.
yeah.
That's really why VBR has dwarfed in comparison. But Bert, I mean, they have a PE ratio according to Vanguard of about 16, which makes the payout ratio based on the last 12 months dividend pretty low at 30%. So again, smaller cap, usually they're still trying to find their way, trying to grow, trying to build revenue, these companies. So that's why the payout ratio is relatively low across the board right now within the stocks in the ETF. But Bert, what about that dividend growth rate over the last 5 years on average?
Terrible. I'm kidding. It's 7.76%. And that's fantastic. 7.76% dividend growth rate. When you compare that to its dividend yield of 1.9%, that's a fantastic dividend factor here. Fantastic for VBR.
Yeah, so you get a better yield, better dividend growth rate than the S&P 500 VOO on the Vanguard side. You actually compare what's the right word? You complement Vanguard dividend appreciation ETF decent here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just with both yield and growth. But what's interesting is when you actually look at what it's done this year already, it's up 4.2%. So really over the last probably 6 to 9 months, we've seen quite a resurgence happening within this ETF, Bert.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to summarize here before we start talking about who makes up their top 10, their PE ratio is 16, payout ratio is 30.56, their 5 year dividend growth rate is 7.76, with a dividend yield of 1.90 and a beautiful dividend factor right there.
Yeah. And again, the top 10 stocks is hilarious in here considering Bert and I exited one of the companies in 2024. We used to own a stock called WestRock, WRK, but they were getting acquired by a company called Smurfit to form a company called Smurfit WestRock. And Bert, is that their top holding right now?
That is their top holding, and they're at 0.81% based on the websites we're looking at. So think about how crazy that is. Their top holding is only 0.81% of the fund. Such a small amount, especially when we've talked about VYM, VOO, and SCHD, where you just see that such heavy weight in those top stocks carrying it. VBR is clearly very spread out amongst its holdings.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not one
Yeah.
stock is at 1% or above. Everything is
No.
under 1%. Some other big names in the
Yeah.
list is, for those that are familiar, NRG Energy is in their portfolio in the top 10. They have, the Carlisle companies, in the top 10. Williams Sonoma also cracks the top 10. And
Yeah.
there's a nice banking institution, First Citizens Bank shares in there as
Yeah,
well.
and I looked at Pentair just to click on them and see what they did, and guess what the first article was? They just increased that dividend 8.7%. So that's a little bit above that 7.8% 5 year growth rate for BBR. How funny is that?
Yeah. I mean, It's awesome, first off. And then, the top 10 representing less than, significantly
Yeah.
less than 10% of the portfolio. Again, it's a great ETF.
So are you making it a Vanguard quadfecta, Lanny? I think that's what the people want to know.
That's what they want to know. I know that's what they want to know. I mean, since inception, sorry, it's late at night here, but according to Vanguard's website, since 2004, this has been around for 21 years, since January of 2004. They have averaged a 9% return of the ETF. Again, according to Vanguard, as of December 31st, 2024, they've averaged 9% per year. Solid. Again, can't knock it, can't hate it. Again, it's hard because, man, having so much going in, I have $1,000 a week if you didn't catch last week's episode. Great ETF. I'll continue to review this. Because what I think I should do, and you guys let me know in the comments, should we stack all of these metrics against, maybe VIG and VYM and VOO and see kind of which one reigns supreme? Let me know if you guys want to see kind of like the overall Vanguard ETF analysis to see which one overall has the better overall score.
Or maybe before you jump in here too, do you just take this and compare it to other areas too? Like, who does Schwab have? Who does Fidelity have the comparable fund? Who does BlackRock have? Should you open it up to see if it should be the Vanguard trifecta plus one extra, like the ugly stepchild to go along with it to help grow? Is this the best small cap value ETF out there too? That's also, I think, a question you should consider while going along with it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, what do you guys think too? Watching the video, what direction should we take with Vanguard's small cap value ETF VBR? What other things do you want to see that could help make this decision here? For those that have invested in VBR, are you happy with the results? Would love the feedback in the comments, guys.
If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. And what do we need to tell those diplomaniacs out there, Lanny?
Oh, let me tell you something, brother. You're either with us or you're against us, Jack. That was Bert the Hurt and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.